Inside Story Uganda, real source of political updates. Inside Story Uganda.
Kolwaliro ziri abiri mukaaga ez'omwezi guno gwa March omwaka 2021. Olunaku olwaliro Abatanzania bagenda okuziika Dr. John Joseph Pombe Magufuli, president waabwe yafa ngenda kusoma mwezi 17. Yewe kinambo olunaku olwaliro agenda kuziikibwa era ng'omulambo gwe gwatuusiddwa gy'azaalibwa gye bayita Ekyato. Okuziika kwa lunaku olwaliro Magufuli abenga naye aggwereddeyo akati ebisigadde batonkumwogerako bwogezi nga eyaliko president wa Tanzania Mama Samia Suluhu Hassan. Bwatyo naye government yagitandiseeko atandise okubaako kanyenyanyenyamu nga ne Magufuli tanavaawo kubanga ajjukira nti era yalina obuyinza kakano yalina obuyinza ate naye ayagala okukola n'abantu bamanyi nti banamutwala mu maaso nga Dr. Magufuli naye bw'abadde akola. Olunaku lwa Friday ndi ne Tamale Mirundi studios mchekaragondo olwaliro
soko okubiko katambi ako
akaliwa konna
ologulamu tugitandike bulungi mayina bagamba nti mu ggwanga muno bw'abayo abantu abamanyi ebiri mu ggwanga muno ndi namba 3
si tekikutawanya
abantu basinga obungi tebamanyi lutalo lwa Kadaaga tebamanya lutalo luli mu ggwanga tebamanya kina bagamba nti abaana bwaka bagenda ne balaba bakadde baabwe nga bakubagana teri ayogera nti bamukwatidde mu bwezi kakani bana Uganda basinga obungi bwe bali. You don't know what the factors at play. Ezo nze nzimanyi bulungi.
Fatula balwana
mumula balwana Kadaga ani Mirundi ani empopula zamwe zonna zaafa ne bokuba bono enshane bokuba buli olaba nze kakati kankubuuze baawonye omanyi nti bazeewa president aba bayusisi nti nagenda nejambia mu studio omwana nga gomukubira mwonoona wali omulabyeko mu lupapula lwa mawulire kino kiguni ekyamukuba kiyiga kuba kiri support waliwo n'ekirala kino ekyali ssente bakita basajja mivule ekyo nakyo mukiteeke mu black book kyakwasa mutwe
basajja mivule
bati bebimala okulya ssente nga bye bajjagala lya ssente z'okugende webaka kyayogezeza omwana nge tayogera nekiteekamu ekyo nakyo kya black book kukyasa mutwe naye ze bantu be babimbuulira gano gagumi fe Abaganda tumanyi bwe tubikola ekinyonyi ekiva mu nnyanja batubyasa emitwe
kampulira eddoboozi ly'oŋŋamba
warrant us such a treatment. Really, if you look at how I was treated, it is a very unfortunate thing. I called you almost at the quarter guard. The entering was just okay, very okay, because most of those people are just, they're known to me and I know their faces. But after reaching at the spot, really, he just looked at me and was like, now, what did you really want today? No, I told him, you see, this delegation is the people so wrote a letter, this and that, this was your response, and I brought them. He simply called out the Chinese man and said, can I have Lee? So they raised up his hand. Then I said, I'm going to meet you alone. Then all the rest, he did not even give me the audience. Much as I tried to explain, he simply told me, get out of my sight. I was like, but Muzei, this is a very serious thing. It is a national issue. So I was like, you man, toka nje. So I slowly, moving backwards, just wanted to see how best rebuild myself and reconstruct my confidence so that I can let him really understand that we are here for very serious business. He did not feel it at all. So I went to the tent a bit further and waited, possibly to wait for his tempers to cool. That is really what I had to do. So I waited. So slowly he rose up the tent and said, can I have everybody out except this man here? So everybody stood away. They gave us a distance of about 5 meters. Then while standing, he simply said, you man, you are a very bad spoiler. You are a fraudster. You have exterminated most of the programs. You have cheated the Ministry of Finance. You even cheated during the COVID-19. You have breached all forms of, raw deals that have really increased the corruption, have really increased the embezzlement, misuse of office, just because you are brokering from one end to another, looking for commissions. You have mimed the government, the image of the government. You have always come out. You pretend to be working for the regime, but at the end of the day, whatever thing you do, you're just looking for money. You monger rumor from one end to another. You disorganize my people. You disorganize my arrangement. You go and meet my ministers. You go and meet investors, conny them, solicit a lot of money from them, and then you simply get on moving. You're good at inflating compensations with the different people. Even some of your colleagues are dead, and even actually heaven has denied them. Even hell has denied them. Even earth has denied them. They're still stuck on earth. So to that I thought it was maybe he met Kasango. So the whole thing was an insult, a very great insult. I really regretted why I ever went there. Now you see the whole problem I'm looking at right now. It is wider than what you might think. I was also thorough and I totally had nothing to do but just wait. You see, sometimes you have to get humble. So I simply humbled myself. Uncle Sam was there to receive me. Professor was also there to receive me. And we jumped through all the process. Of course, I had to calm down. But these days, His Excellency is a very tough man. He doesn't want to listen to anything outside his particular arrangement, because I'm very certain that the current arrangement is having to reduce the image of the party.
Oyo wa mafuguli oyaze kuzika Magufuli oba yabadde mu State House
simanyi yabadde gompadde ddobo Excellency yagobye mugobe bako tutenga tukali nentwe yako n'obutwa obukajagaladde anje kango bakatya obyeba minister
kaleta tepu enfu naye bako tutwala nga n'obuswera bukali ennyuma. You see, you people, Zimbabwe nembagamba nti President Museveni mpulira ne babajjo nempulira abavuma Museveni mpulira mutabani wange Nadduli mama we Wankima. I'll go there and see him. Their problem, they don't know how things have changed. Museveni retiring a president in Namukusomera. Retiring a president nabagamba the President Museveni bamubuuza you have not stashed money on the Swiss account like other African leaders. What is your future insurance? Museveni nabagamba my future insurance is a stable Uganda. Condoleezza Rice namugamba nti what if you become the Secretary General of the United Nations? I saw Museveni a bit losing his temper. Me? Yoweri Museveni? To be a kiraka like an man? Have my cows.
Tumukoze mirimu ja karani.
Kakati bano boche batamanyi. Ti Museveni must retire in a peaceful Uganda. This is why the volcano, the political volcano, enyenya buli wamu. Ekyokubiri balina ekibiina kyabwe nga bakiyita fellowship. It had who is who. Fellowship nekutuka mu lwansonga bbiri. Mwalimu abasajja abakulu abalina integrity na buno obuvubuka obubba buli wamu. Kakati bagenda babuyinda yitinga ku organ trafficking and human trafficking. Even if your name is mentioned, omuntu nabwa nti we cannibal, UN came here, sent a delegation, investigated. It has indicted 47 people, 62 surgeons. Abatanga abantu marwad. I told you, ntizo mugenzi Professor Kanyerezi yandekera list eyabasawa batta ati babatanga babitwalanga muri balamu. Why should the Pakistani come here to collect organs? Do we have more deaths than the Pakistanis? Never to one wange mwalubati kuku. As I usually do. Family yange bojukwataka I fight you devastating it. Nimba kuba. Pakistani bamusebe myaka 7 ewabo. Nakola fine.
Pakistani mwalo yalicha nafa. Namatovu yalicha nafa. Bamusebe namatovu.
Nemukazi wange bali bamulwalinga akawala bakayitani nabukera. Nicha kanonyera njok kalikero
ngakanamukera kanonyaji
ati kakolagana no mu Pakistan nga bagudde office wandege kali wali weli akasikide ne mugamba akawe Pearson Kebake
okakole iki
kagenda okuzukuka nga kali ku lusalu wafe mu kofi ninja sakalabirwamu katunule mu maaso g'empologoma
olegala kema sokateke mu kofi
weli akamfunidde
netwange bibyo bukambo byokole bibitisa bikutambuza ne jambia bikutambuza ne nyondo
no what if my wife was lured into a trap bamukubira simu simetu ile mpekeze tutunda my wife to sell tablet bamukidnapping bamujimuga to punish him ngabe bakubye omwana wange once he attack amya retaliate devastating ile
tumula
seumula kati uyu yaliza tape enfu ngoba jibangu
onula kwandi akati ya kungula naye wali wamusonyiwa
wali wamusonyiwa
bakoza mukozi
Mirundi tasonyiwa muntu
kwangamba bakoza mukozi
kakati yabo abasajja ne batula abasajja abakulu mwenye Uganda muje tuli mute mujimanyi many people cannot step outside the borders of Uganda. They grab them like grasshoppers.
Embera tabuse
kakati omuganda gamba tosoberwa kana mu kibira soberwa ko wamu. We must stabilize this country kubanga bwe tuba tusoma international law batugamba domestic law prevails over international law. Oyinza okwagala okukwata omusajja mu Uganda Interpol ne bagiremesa Interpol yayagala okukwata mukaha Habyarimana negundi nono omusajja abatta abantu e Rwanda. Oyo musajja yina radio yakula ebijambia Kabuga yes. Muyina agamba land here I will arrest you. I arrest Interpol officers. You go and find out who created the war in Rwanda.
Sikumaraga kuyola ba.
Era Kabuga kibaki nemwe yibamaze kufa kwe kumukwata. Domestic law prevails over international law because of sovereignty. As long as you are in Uganda, not agenda ko Kenya na Tanzania, you are safe. Kakati wali group erowoza bwetu. Nabaganti ebizimbe byabwe babikwatidde. Musajja agenda ku ATM n'ateeka mu ka card neka ekyuma ne kikalia ne kibuga you are wanted. Bulaya n'atema kuba bakola ensobi. How can you send money on European and American accounts during COVID?
Ngezi zona zigadwawo abantu bonna betaaga buyambi ngezi yonna temayina kyegenda
sente bazi kuatachi
banonya
bafumanze is because of stupidity
akatambi ko kano mulimu ne baganti naye Tamale yenga atuli bubi
atemba libubi no
goyagala bakole
benso bije baba
era babuuza gwo balimiddiku
babavubukana baba nabagamba what I want is a compensation
to compensate you.
Yes. Nemfuna sente zange more than 30 billion nezijja ku account na nyini buyinza na account naji blocking mbaviridde mu government for last 7 years. You have not. I went to State House once. I met the president. We disagreed. I went to Rokero House once. Nti entebe yange yali evamu emisota n'enjijjayo. Yes. Bampitanga entebe yange batawanya nga lumu terimu atenga nange nina mpulira omwana akaaba nti namulekawa. I went and collected my check
Oino mwana gwali oleke wantu. Yo yali akabira munte.
Ninjijeyo. Once in 7 years they have never seen me attending a national function. I didn't attend their omulimu gwabwe nagugana. Oludaka simonkalia. Why do they continue pursuing me?
Are they pursuing you?
Yes. Anti oblocking account yange ya billion ya 3.
Anti oluvanyuma lw'okubabeera ko obuzi okwo.
Nnaku zino. Mfunye sente zange billion ya 3. Why do you block it? Offload me and I can't do my things. Bobe bali message olutalo. Release my money and I go mbu bwafuna sente tajja tukolera.
Neba aba blocking a center to bakolera. Aba blocking a center.
Ate kakati mwe mutamanyi. Tuyina abagala okusikira mu 7 ya total cost. Kati yake yakakubye batudde mu meeting yaabwe. Ne baga nti Mirundi yatuulidde nga tuogera. No. Munne namugasi Mirundi. Abachayina biwatutteyo baba kuteze. Era mudiru mukula yabaddemu. Banonyeza mukula nga omuchayina ababiri bazzeeyo omuchayina omwaga muzize sente zange babajjeko miliyoni emitwalo gya dollars
okulaba president
mukula bagenze ewuwo mulaba ngali ku Diamond Trust yekwese mulaba bwedi kubima byange ngadaba mukula bwendi nga bamunonyeri ali mu Diamond Trust yekukumi wansi w'emmeza
Diamond Trust
aina ofisi yawo
ekibuzo Tamale babega okulaba president Museveni kwa kugula buguzi
kakati kyovula bayaka yabadde amanyi nti babaliddeko sente kandi byekakaaba byonna nakagagwe kaga nti nezera ne mutenti na ndumba kazeko kanyume bulungi muzeyi entwala gye yakatutte kalunyumyanga lutabaalo kaddemu nga kagenze yabagambye nti n'abantu bamwe ababbi Katonda abaganye n'okuyingira mu ggulu bakyalemedde ku nsi. This is a new dispensation.
Yeah, from the regime. There's a lot of investigation that has been happening. A vetting team has involved several intelligence who have been monitoring the bank accounts, monitoring the activities done, monitoring the conflicts within the ministries and the several parastatals. So that is where we are. So it is not only you. It was really very, very tough on everyone. No, you just wait. Actually, even he had the mention of your name several times that we conspired a lot of times, that I even tried to go and confuse our fund horse. That at all times I've always been around him just to seek information such that I can go and manipulate it. Then after manipulating it, I squeeze out the monetary value from it so that I could get some money. So it's like I'm totally sick and tired of you. Remember the money you got during COVID-19? You bridged all sorts of corruption. And that is corruption is what identifies you, yet you don't hold the end of public office.
Listening to your kababa keteka akakasajja keteka kukomitia kufikali kakola yoji. I write documents for ministers.
Linda.
So you keep moving left to right, peddling this and that just for monetary benefit. What job do you do? So really, I did not have any question, any answers for all those questions, because he was with a very hot temper, and yet by the time I found him, the man was laughing wildly. He was smiling wildly, but a sight of me totally changed his mood and attitude, and that was very, very humiliating. They were like wondering, the confidence I had while taking them. I could just make calls. The protocol officer could simply arrange and tell me, no, you come. His access cannot. You see, he read your thing thoroughly well and all that. So I read these people, but the sight of me simply turned the money off, and I was totally humiliated. I felt so small, as if earth could just swallow me. That is what I went through. The experience was very, very bad. You see, it normally happens.
Yali anfulumya State House. Yali anfulumya State House. Nze yanfulumya atya. Ebanja liwa mwenge ligwana mwenge nzo sisaka. When you are playing with Mirundi, you are playing with a very good. Gorinda bana bako yo mwana wange. They will pay. Nyamu dead sisonyiwa. Lwaki mpira gugwera mu neti yange?
Tokkiriza.
Never. Kakati abeso bije bakola. Kugala account yange liko billion yaga.
Ani akatekako? Kwange esentwe.
Uzibuza ni nazironda. Nazironda.
Tuina jozi kwa latawa.
Nazironda.
Waro ya zisura.
Na kugamba. Timu Amerika waliyo case. Omusajja alisa alinga maji. Nga sergeant. Abali uwe. Nga bamuweze milioni za $5 kwa akaunti. Na akazimba kwa church. Yali musajja mulokole. Nazimba kwa church. Abali yao. Nga aba intelligence baze. You received more money than what was required. Yababuza. Yabaganti, I've been praying to God for a miracle. When I saw this money,
a miracle happened.
Why didn't you report it to the police? I thought it was a miracle from God. Yes.
So did you also ask for a miracle from
and
God?
I constructed the church. How can the American system make such a mistake? Okumpeteza millions of dollars atu. Mbadde musajja mulokole nga ansaba.
Era mayindi kalonde byamagera.
I thought it was a miracle. Why didn't you report to the police that you have received the excessive money? No. I've been praying for a miracle.
And a miracle
and this was a miracle from God. Katombuza sente zange jezava.
Nawe billions asa tunziveko.
Nzagala bakigule. That young man. Ngatayagala kubona abona nnyo. Aniroko my account. Offload me.
How did you access your account?
By blocking. Ningamba bobagundi bachibirango bani. Nebaganti no you go to your bank. Bano bebeji mbo somebody important in the government blocked it. Ngendembe njoku joninyo ndokusekula umutwe. Tolinda bakugwe mulenzi gwe. Ajoga abantu. Aniroko my account.
Obayagala mutegerekane.
Tewali kutegerekana. Not under pressure.
Temuwa concessions.
Bekankubulire. Abantu bano tebakimanyi. Offload me. Abasiramu bakugamba tinabbi yayina mukwano gwe nga asaala nnyo. Namuga nti obwavu bwonseta tiwasa omukyala. Namuga obwavu bwonseta nabbi wasa owokubiri. Obwavu bundi bubi wasa owokusatu. Obwavu bwonseta wasa owokuna. Yagenda kulaba musekiti nga takyajja. Lwaki? Owokuna yajja n'obugagga ng'akamangamira akamamata. You offload me and open my account. Ngende nkola ebintu byange. What's the 30 billion? Munanda bako wano. Munanda bako. But you cannot block my account. Kusente zange zemutamanyi enzije.
Onabatofiriza gwanga Tamale.
Kuki?
Okulekera okulwanagana n'abantu. Sikusente.
Kosi yetusasudde mu gwanga muno ogimanyi.
And jembuza.
My mother was almost arranged. My son was battered.
Mudogozi no lyobadde. Nze bwe nduliddemu. Nga mulimu akagamba Mase. Ye Tamale atatuvaako. Yatubeerera.
Create another one. Jesus came because of his father's kingdom. Do I want to become a president of this country? No. I've done my job. I want to can rest. Wakati mlina yumulala mumufe. Katonda ndangamba ngakunti nze ndinula Uganda. Neyeze ekibanku byabo. Ba blocking account yange ne sente.
Niyo oluddengo bakube emyaka 7. Account baji blocking za last.
Tutangane. Mfunye sente zange mwendeke ngende nekoleza ebyange ewaffe. Nti nedda bwana afuna sente tajja tukola ndisirevu wamu.
Niyo bado bakolera ki?
Nedda nti bo bali mu group biri gwe zotomanyi. Nti buno obuvubuko ako buyina group ebaddekanga abantu se yabanankabirwa ekuba kadaaga simu 7.
Ekizibu kyenda Batamale mu biro byonna I think kiri ku succession. Ekyo kintu tuli kisolovinga.
Andi kankoboli no let me tell you. Bwemupanga mulundo omukulembeze mu Uganda muno. Gate ma temujja kufuna mu 7. Yete mujja kudamu mufuna. Except mu America era bakolaka incident. Ono bamutta Fulman National Theatre ono bamutta. Waliwo president ba America abafana kanya history.
Abraham Lincoln ne Jeff Kennedy.
But if your wife dies or your husband dies, and you look for a husband afananya balo toja mufuna, you end up not getting married. Katonda afulumya omuntu omu talina duplicate.
Buli omu agira mu katibake.
Why? The way we are socialized. Nti abana bange bote bagenzeeko okusomero nga tebalina ngatto. Mmotoka ewaka bazisanzeewo. Bazizanyiramu. Kakati ate nze situation siginakuliramu.
Mwaina kagaali koka.
Buli omu alina akatibake n'environment. Abaserikale bange abo abankuuma, abapoliisi balinga 6. This is the contradiction. Tiyakuba omwana wange akumibwa minisale poliisi, maama w'omwana akumibwa minisale poliisi, amaka gange gonna gakumbibwa yabo, engeri bali bagenda okunzita yafu more than 6 policemen ewazana. Ntuula nabo ne tunyumya. Naye nabagambye nti buli muntu akulira environment yeyiye. Muyinza okulaba wano nga temulabangawo omusota naye nga weeguli. It grew up ku sementi gwayavula mutonga gwavulira kuki sikusubi
omusota
nemba gamba mutulye ekibaati ekyo mulowooza nti embwa ezali ziri akulosi zalekayo okulya zafa zayigwe kyenyigamu zayigwe kibuuka ento because environment shapes you. This is what people don't know. Every environment shapes you. Environment gwewe wakulira wawulyako kukolera ngata abantu. Amazi banywanga mafumbe.
Mtu aganyiranga
kolera yavaawa. Babazanyiranga mu nkuba. Obugeregere ne butukwata. Ngoga nti omwana yalwadde omusujja. Kubanga asimanyi yazanyidde mu nkuba. Bano baana. Enkoko yedda ngoyinza giruma akagumba kaayo. Enkose gwanga
kujifumba bufumbi
environment changes even the political environment. Kakati temba gamba ti abantu bangi abanalimu okutegeera oyo yabadde darling ye yajja nangoba mu State House nateka wakatambi agenze yekunkumula
anti mukatambi kana gati omukulu yambuza namugati naye gwa tayina muri mu government tayina public office
akamula bakati
naye
yakamula bakati
anti kati amufa
ate waliwasi oyo gwabadanyumya naye amusinza amaanyi amugambye ati professor yamugamba nti get out of my office kuteesa namugamba nti gwe konteina yo gyozze nayo mu mutwe ey'obujozi bwo tojja gyetekulira bwange
kuteesa atabiyingirira mugwa
gye yaddukira
nga president yamugamba kutesa myambe
nino kuwamba gundi njagala ministry eno njagala sesana uyo muleta oluleta bamuleta natema nakaba naye mirundi naye mumpayiriza bwerere nze mumpayiriza bwerere mwekuba mweka kambuleyo omusajja mukula bwe mwagenza omunonye we yabaddeyo mukolo yabadde teyekwese ku Diamond Trust
bamanyi yabadde yekwese
anti tekamba bulire mukolo yabadde yekwese ku Diamond Trust ngaka China kalemeddeko obubiri bwadduse kati waliwo omuyisirairi wano anoonya bamufera
Tamale President Museveni kitibwateko kubanga akiraba ayina solution ya
no intelligence services. That's what I was going to tell you. Intelligence services in future omuntu akulira yiso nakulya military intelligence must have a PhD in criminology. Singa Museveni tali cool headed ng'omuntu agusuza mu fridge yali tusena atumalawo. I look at him
kubanga agambe nti ono yamugambye nti gwe oli trader wa rumors oleta wani ngambo
nzile mutunulya bwendi ngawulya tape he closed his eyes for 2 hours. Mr. Mirundi, why are you abusing me? Vote him babas. Museveni is a fool. Ani
akoye Museveni
if Museveni was singandi mulamu, but I explained to him, Your Excellency, where do I have a program
in English
that lasts for 2 hours in English? Natunul. 2, every program has a moderator. Where is the moderator? Nagandi wamanange program omusonzi wuliza
olinga bulira enjiri
kakati oyo mulimu jjawa
president yafana bati
yes nti bamukyala njoba babagamba nti babagamba nti bamukyala njoba babagamba nti bamuwadde obutwa nga alwadde amambuluga dokita webesi je mwestana munne namuganti bakuwadde obutwa Museveni yagamba mubantere wano mfenga bandaba 2 refer to another doctor ne baleta bata nagaga no mambuluga. Where do you get this man?
Obache kitukolo obubi
yanti kyenkubulira
yali badde
ekikimbamulowoza ti Socrates bwe yafa Plato yagenda mu lumbe lwa Socrates yali musomesaawe nabaga Socrates afudde amaze emirimu gye mwekabire mu abasigadde mu nsi etali mu Socrates nze linnya lyange Yosefu nalijja mu Bible tebalimbatizangako sekalotera uyo leero tunamuta bwe yalaba tebadda n'atumayo Yosefu y'Emisiri interpreting ebirooto bya Gonde. But when the Pharaoh who knew the Jews died, they became slaves. God had to send Moses. Yes. Do you consider these things? The type of leader you need, the intelligence info. Aba naba akataga ekibabunyabwe babateka ko ebifu agenda kuwamba government ayagala kufuuka president no bifu ukadaga bamulaganga mu percentage ngambabazi ya mukuba nga kano ka new vision kakuba ko nembabazi ngakutte kutama bwati ayina 3% kadaga 47% kisanga atachiti nti Museveni yakube kadaga ko kayitewo mbabazi ayitewo. So yefu Museveni ku fitina ya mweje muyina abawestana bakozesa nnyo malisi noga nti tutto omwana tumuteeka omutwego mu ofisi ya Kadaga tumukwate tumusebe
ekyo bawestana bakikola
abawestana bakozesa nnyo malisi that cannot be done by Muganda. Why? Umuganda yamenye repercussions. First of all omuzimu gw'omwana ono agutya bagamba akulya security mbu yali agende mukiga mbu yagenda waabwe kubika bijja ngolage simu yeje yali genda muri kodeze ulabe obe motoke oba miso byeyina boba biyina
akulya security si jeno tumwine
akulya security ku parliament yagamba yali agenze wabwe kuma bijja kubika bijja bakika bakumerwa ke namba yeri Masaka mbo omwana osemenyi wa pastor omwana gwe bajja mu kikajjo ne kesi yafa
ekesi yafa
yes
me tunanye nokuru ekesi yafa
the case died
omwana gobale tenatula ku parliament no mutwe mbunde tidika daga kusumika daga
motoka njikolage ya parking njikola message kolage motoka nge parking ngao kulina na minister internal affairs ku police omwana la kulosinga genda ku kamera ya parliament obako ebiri babijjako meeting ezatule chambo goluddawa with the audio miso tabikuwa kata gasabi muwa hagivu kata galu the details
so byali internet kumalisa
anti kyenkubulira ndikakati abakole ebyo recently ndakandaga miso ya muyambi nga bateka okubagenga office ye bafuna omuntu ayogera nga Bobi Wine babitwalire president ndikataka ayogera ne Bobi Wine bagi ha office the methodology kyekinuma
Tamale bino byonna ffe tubiwulira tuddayo ku kintu kimu.
Yes,
it is a succession battle.
Anti succession battle naye nkugamba nawandika akatabo kano litu akasomamu nembaga nti ekizimu kyammwe malisi
kubanga President Museveni ye edimu eryali
yes
onokulija kutuuka
ekizibu kyammwe malisi nze methodology yammwe yenkola obubi nti buli musango omukulembeze omubi ate evaluating ajabata abamalewo kati aba intelligence abo bayina bi report ebifubi bawandika Kadaga. How can Kadaga become a problem nga mwe musinzamu abantu abangi mu parliament? What's the role of a speaker? In fact, I was telling somebody about second Nabagambi, do you want to be taken to police headquarters? The moment you become a speaker, you are finished. You are always preside over. Kujja Congo li popular. Nti ababaka bani bitano bakuita mu constituencies abo. How do you popularize yourself as a speaker? To chair. Can a speaker bring a motion?
In other sense,
iliwo. Is a presiding person. Na nkabirwa no mutwegwe oyajja kufa bubi. Yatambula n'ekigundi kino kyakuba omwana wange. Bajja bikwata. Kwanza na video ninanga boogera ninanga ki wanudde
ne Tamale ko gambi abanyangolo baina malisi
kati boje ani akozesa nankabiro ani akozesa nankabiro
nzate mumanyi nze maino kwa
nankabiro is a hunting dog
no bera nankabiro
ate natamani ani kugambi nankabiro is a hunting dog amukozesa mulala ye kukumya ate yagamba bwe kimulema milioni 2 milioni meka gwe nokwata sente hunting dogo you a political prostitute ewango zeretayo gwe mbagandi bampe mbagambi unlock my account ziko bilioni zanga 3 unlock my account
bakoli chiwakola mtwali bia
tanti ate nabale katola babuntu ale 10 toiza kumfunza bote bakafunza ki I left your job 7-8 years ago. You have not seen me anywhere. You block my account. Kwa mfo bwavu. Unlock my account.
Okay. Tamale.
Kakati nkugamba nti mali seno je muyina mujiyizo mukulembeze alisobola malishi. You cannot land on ekyokubi military intelligence. ISO must be headed by people mu constitution mukitekemu abayina PhD mu criminology. Yes, with the people with the integrity.
Have we failed on
Gondi yankubi desimu sobi nanganti nze nkubulire sobi oyo
yisimugire
tinkubulire ndiye nange ninga gwe konze lwaji nalemera kukaka yali mali okungoba nange alemera ku Museveni tiaha nangamba gwe nze nina information kwabo bonna obubinja bwe bagamba obutta abantu leje buli manyiyo use me wabokedde nategeera nti abatta abakazi babatwalira mu benzi nga security tetemanyi soko sema katabo kanga ako
security tekolanga bukedde nti ejja kuteeka mawulire eteringa
kwene wano waliwo ki
why Museveni lives a luxury life
ande kugamba nti masters of deception akakatabo ketwasoma kololi
akataba keta masters of deception ketwasoma lita tono wana nagamba nti
yali asoma
coincidentally neke yali asoma okay kanuka wakawandika ku birthday yo mu 2013 emyaka emikejo munane jise ntandikire wano Museveni lives a luxurious life. When Uganda acquired a new presidential jet, the opposition took it up, accusing the president of extravagance and amid the socio-economic hardships. However, the president did not invade the national coffers in the night and took the money, and the aircraft acquired is a national asset. Its procurement was debated, evaluated, approved, and sanctioned by the parliament. However, the same parliamentarians who passed and approved the transaction pretended in public as if it was something strange to them. Number 3, Museveni wastes money on international and domestic tours. Unlike kings who have the privilege of Okulabika appearing to the people at their liberty when one wants, President Museveni has a national duty of visiting all parts of Uganda. This explains why he is constitutionally required to make a State of the Nation address annually. How can he duly exercise this duty without visiting all the parts of the country? Number 4, the Muhoozi scare. When UPDF went to Congo and defeated both Kony and the ADF, those who had invested in these criminal groups turned their anger and frustration on the Light Colonel or Lieutenant Colonel Muhoozi Kainerugaba in order to undermine the mission. We had all nonsensical arguments such as the military option was not necessary and negotiation with the criminal groups was the best option. But those advancing the arguments believed that the rebels through peace talks would find their way into the government and their leaders would get political jobs, ranks in the military and the government. This worked previously in both the Obote and Lutwa government. The UNLA was formed for a similar purpose, to unite all the fighting groups as a price for the peace. They also argued that Museveni was a selfish warmonger who risked people's children because none of his own was in the UPDF. When Muhoozi joined the army, which they were demanding, they changed the tune that Museveni is favoring his son and preparing him for the presidency. When Muhoozi commanded a successful mission against Joseph Kony in the DRC Garamba National Park, it was described as a public relations exercise for the first son, that he wanted to attract the newspaper attention and get political mileage for his crusade for the presidency. If it was done for this public relations, it was not his fault, for already he was in the army and hence part of the attacking team. How can you score in a football game when you are not part of the playing team? Those who are demanding that Museveni should have a child in the army forced Muhoozi into the UPDF as hence the Garamba mission. The fans score goals No. If the argument was solely for publicity, why would he not remain at the command center at Entebbe? The American general who commanded the raid on Bin Laden hideout was not in Pakistan. He was in Washington, thousands of miles away. Chokutan, all our kids in Kampala belong to the first family. One day, a group of people came to me seeking my assistance in linking them with the president's daughters. The reason was that her agent had taken money from them for rent in one of the Kampala buildings. I asked those people that if the building belonged to the president's daughter, who feared to identify with it publicly, was it logical to see her? The reason for fear to identify with the building was to conceal her ownership. How then could the person who did not want people to know that she is owner of the building meet her future tenants? The truth was that the story was manufactured to link the buildings to the first family. What about the Shimon Primary School plot? The opposition says that it belongs to the first family, who are the super rich, but failed to develop it. How can a pregnant woman have a small belly? A rich family failed to develop a plot that they have grabbed. Then, what was the purpose of grabbing it? Reasonable people would say that the plot belongs to the first family because it is developing at a rate that an ordinary person cannot manage, and vice versa. A rich man cannot fail to pay for his wife's maternity bills. Therefore, a rich family could not fail to develop a plot, and unless and indeed someone is just peddling these lies. What amazes me is that they are accusing the president of preparing a horse for the presidency, but they forget that the president's accusers have already done so at their children. This reminds me of a Chiganda proverb that omwogezi omusiru atenda byabane. A foolish commentator talks about the mistakes of the others, not his own, in order to divert himself and the others away from his own mistakes. As they accuse the president about his son, the accusers have meanwhile done the following. Number one, Ken Chams's daughter Susan Nampija replaced her father in parliament when the IGG ordered him to leave the house for failure to submit his assets as required by the law. Luchamuzi had contributed to its making. Number two, Okello Otua's son is a minister and was unanimously vetted by the Parliamentary Appointments Committee. Number three, Obote's son, Jimmy Akena, is fighting to take over the party from Olara Otuno. Number four, Obote's widow, Media, contested the presidency and the UPC card to replace her husband, the late Dr. Apollo Milton Obote. Number five, Lule's son, Waswa Lule, was recently in Parliament. Number six, when Dr. Semogerere sent his son to America for further studies, he was not accompanied by his children from the DP families that lost their relatives for supporting the party in the 1980s at the hands of the UPC agents. Karoli Semogerere went alone to the United States, alone where he lives an opulent life. Therefore, the Moses Care cannot work. There is no way that the president can impose his son onto the party without the consent of the NRM supporters. However, Mohozi, like any other Ugandan, has a right to seek any office in Uganda provided he fulfills all the necessary constitutional requirements. Number six, the government is collapsing. Another even third trick now is the rhetoric that our enemies by our enemies to demoralize our people, to demoralize our people by scaring them that the government is falling. If the government is collapsing, why do new supporters cross from the other parties to join a collapsing government? Also, one, nobody has rejected any presidential appointment for this reason. The government is collapsing. Why enter a vandalized bus well aware that it will not reach your destination? Why not wait for a beat of a brand new one to come on? Number two, whenever there are elections, those prophets of doom participate to join the structures of a collapsing government. They also participate with vigor in subsequent by-elections of a collapsing government. Why? Number three, Dr. Kizza Besigye predicted after 2006 elections that Museveni would not complete his term. He ended up embarrassing himself. The government retained and remained in power, and Museveni completed his term. Museveni is tired and lacks ideas. This would be the best time to defeat Museveni. Why does he defeat you? If he is at his weakest point and you cannot defeat him, this means that you are weaker than the weak. Assuming that he is declined, but it's clear he is not reached a level of weakness. Number 8, disgruntled insiders. The opposition was trying bakaita
masters of deception nti abo opposition balese ebintu nebibalima n'abali mu government nebibalima yes nakawandikira 2012 ate tebalina budget gye bampa. I've worked with these people but I've paid a high price. I've received my money, you broke my account. What do you want me to do?
Lwaki tukubira President Museveni Omulanga akusumulira account yo
naye yennyini baleeta biliyoni 2 bazimpe n'abaga nti muzimpe nja zimwewera ye yali azimpadde
naye omubanja
omusajja agendayo n'amugamba ti omusajja ono atukoledde nnyo tumuyite ne famire ye tumuwe biliyoni 2 tumuwe ne printing egenda okuba obukofiira ne t-shirt famire ye esanyuka omusajja atukoledde president n'amugamba nti is a good proposal naye ezo sente oziyina n'amugamba kyetaagisa mmeka ninawe biliyoni 10 ti ayi biliyoni 10 ntono genda ogateeka endala biliyoni 10 omusajja bwezimuwa yamugamba you want to bribe my man put the money there checks there
and go away
kati ne check is expiring at
I need the president
president
jakuwa musenti
kubuuza kati what do they want me to do
need the president jakuwa musenti
zili 20 billion mzee yaziremedde billioni zanga 3 mutamanyi kinzije
zamuzee yera zirabanga za bribe
bribe ki
andi bagalolekera okwogera
yampadde ki
ani president
yampadde ki
agenda siko zino
weni nga nkaddiye siyasobola na kubano nga abana bange singanze nali seyiya abana bange tebaali tudde can you have a man who does not have a job for 7 years? I'm approaching the 8 years. How do I survive?
Oina bana mekabo.
Oina bana mekabo. Nkaga. I have 6 children.